Risk. Risk. In simple terms, risk is the possibility of something bad happening. Risk involves uncertainty about the effects, implications of an activity with respect to something that humans value, such as health, well being, wealth, property, or the environment, often focusing on negative, undesirable consequences. Many different definitions have been proposed. The International Standard Definition of risk for common understanding in different applications is effect of uncertainty on objectives, according to the encyclopedia. The understanding of risk, the methods of assessment and management, the descriptions of risk, and even the definitions of risk differ in different practice areas: business, economics, environment, finance, information technology, health, insurance, safety, security, etc. Read about the definitions of risk, the Oxford English Dictionary, the International Organization for Standardization, and other definitions. Practice areas: the understanding of risk, the common methods of management, the measurements of risk, and even the definition of risk differ in different practice areas. Read about business risk. Business risk arises when uncertainty about the profit of a commercial business due to unwanted events such as changes in tastes, changing preferences of consumers, strikes, increased competition, changes in government policy, obsolescence, etc. Business risks are controlled using techniques of risk management. Read all about that. Economic risk. Economics is concerned with the production, distribution, and consumption of goods and services. Economic risk arises from uncertainty about economic outcomes. Read all about that. Environmental risk. Environmental risk arises from environmental hazards or environmental issues. In the environmental context, risk is defined as the chance of harmful effects to human health or to ecological systems. Read all about that. Financial risk. Finance is concerned with money management and acquiring funds. Financial risk arises from uncertainty about financial returns. It includes market risk, credit risk, liquidity risk, and operational risk. Read about that. Health risk. Health risks arise from disease and other biological hazards. Epidemiology is the study and analysis of the distribution patterns and determinants of health and disease. Health, safety, and environment risks. Health, safety, and environment are separate practice areas, however, they are often linked. The reason is typically to do with organizational management structures. However, there are strong links among these disciplines. Read all about that. Information technology risk. Information technology is the use of computers to store, retrieve, transmit, and manipulate data. IT risk or cyber risk arises from the potential that a threat may exploit a vulnerability to breach security and cause harm. IT risk management applies risk management methods to IT to manage IT risks. Computer security is the protection of IT systems by managing IT risks. Read all about that. Insurance risk. Insurance is a risk treatment option which involves risk sharing. It can be considered as a form of contingent capital and is akin to purchasing an option in which the buyer pays a small premium to be protected from a potential large loss. Occupational risk. Occupational health and safety is concerned with occupational hazards experienced in the workplace. Read all about that. Project risk. A project is an individual or collaborative undertaking planned to achieve a specific aim. Project risk is defined as an uncertain event or condition that, if it occurs, has a positive or negative effect on a project's objectives. Safety risk. Safety is concerned with a variety of hazards that may result in accidents causing harm to people, property, and the environment. In the safety field, risk is typically defined as the likelihood and severity of hazardous events. Safety risks are controlled using techniques of risk management. Read all about that. Security risk. Security is freedom from or resilience against potential harm caused by others. Read all about that. Assessment and management of risk. Risk management. Risk is ubiquitous in all areas of life, and we all manage these risks consciously or intuitively, whether we are managing a large organization or simply crossing the road. Intuitive risk management is addressed under the psychology of risk. Risk management refers to a systematic approach to managing risks, and sometimes to the profession that does this. A general definition is that risk management consists of coordinated activities to direct and control an organization with regard to risk. Read all about that. Risk assessment. Risk assessment is a systematic approach to recognizing and characterizing risks and evaluating their significance in order to support decisions about how to manage them. Risk assessment can be qualitative, semi-quantitative, or quantitative. Read all about that. Read about risk identification. Risk identification is the process of finding, recognizing, and recording risks. It involves the identification of risk sources, events, their causes, and their potential consequences. Read about risk analysis. Risk analysis is about developing an understanding of the risk. Read all about that. Risk evaluation and risk criteria. Risk evaluation involves comparing estimated levels of risk against risk criteria to determine the significance of the risk and make decisions about the risk treatment actions. Read about descriptions of risks and risk metrics. Probability distributions, expected values, volatility, outcome frequencies, relative risk, psychology of risk, fear as an intuitive risk assessment. People may rely on their fear and hesitation to keep them out of the most profoundly unknown circumstances. Fear, anxiety, and risk. According to one set of definitions, fear is a fleeting emotion ascribing to a particular object, while anxiety is a trait of fear that is referring to trait anxiety as distinct from how the term anxiety is generally used, that lasts longer and is not attributed to a specific stimulus. These particular definitions are not used by all authors cited on this encyclopedia page. Read all about fear, anxiety, and risk. Consequences of anxiety. Experimental studies show that brief surges in anxiety are correlated with surges in general risk perception. Read all about that. Dread risk. It is common for people to dread some risks but not others. They tend to be very afraid of epidemic diseases, nuclear power plant failures, and plane accidents, but are relatively unconcerned about some highly frequent and deadly events such as traffic crashes, household accidents, and medical errors. Read all about that. Read about anxiety and judgmental accuracy. The relationship between higher levels of risk perception and judgmental accuracy in anxious individuals remains unclear. Read about that. Human factors. One of the growing areas of focus in risk management is the field of human factors, where behavioral and organizational psychology underpin our understanding of risk-based decision making. Read all about that. Psychology of risk-taking. A growing area of research has been to examine the various psychological aspects of risk-taking. Read about that. Other considerations. Risk and uncertainty. Read about that. Uncertainty, measurement of uncertainty. Risk, measurement of risk. Mild versus wild risk. Read about that. Risk, attitude, appetite, and tolerance. Read about that. Risk and autonomy. Read about that. Read about the list of related books. There's a list of books about risk issues. Read all about risk. Risk.